So today I wanted to talk a little bit about white-tailed deer because hunting season is right upon us. Gun season starts this weekend, and so we can obviously see there's some changes outside compared to summer. I wanted to talk a little bit of how white-tailed deer kind of prepare for the winter. And they have pretty large range here, as we can see. They cover most of North America down into South America. And just that vast, expensive area that they cover themselves, they are obviously having to adapt to different areas like savanna, the edge habitat in particular, what we see, as well as prairies or woodlands. And generally they'll graze on things like maple or honeysuckle, sassafras and elm. They'll be able in the summer to eat a lot of the greens that are all around, the grasses, and that's because they have a 4-part stomach. And in those stomachs there are microbes that allow them to digest things seasonally, which I thought was really cool. And that's why I decided to do this white-tailed deer portion. And so in the summer, these microbes are programmed to try and digest the grasses, mainly grasses and leaves, the things they're eating in the summer. And once fall hits, then they change over to digesting twigs, branches, bark, things like that. And so once winter's approaching and those microbes are changing over, deer are also literally fattening up. And so I have a comparison of some deer in summer. You can see they're a little thinner here versus, so you can see he's got a little bit of has a little bit of a thicker neck and stomach all the way around, just a little bit thicker. So they're gaining a lot of more weight through all of the protein that they're trying to get in all the nuts and seeds they're eating, but they're also having, they have hollow guard hairs as well as regular guard hairs. And those hollow guard hairs would be underneath the regular ones in order to help insulate them and keep them warm all winter, which allows them to stay up here all the time instead of having to migrate like a bird. And so then instead of all these nice grasses and things, I mentioned they eat twigs, and like I had mentioned before, we can see some different habitat. Here we go. So wooded areas, prairies, everything, they'll eat just about everything, which is not always good because a lot of people will look into winter feeding for deer to try and keep them a little healthier and around. But because of those microbes, their stomachs aren't able to digest things that we would think are okay. And so biologists have found starved deer with stomachs full of hay and corn in the winter because people are feeding them, but it's not the right food for them, instead of giving them oats and things like that. And so in order to try and keep deer around and have good populations, they recommend not feeding them artificial foods like the corn and hay, but also managing the land so there's thermal cover. And so hemlocks and other big pine trees with their big boughs, so they can help to protect them. It's a little warmer underneath, and there's also usually less snow because it's blocking it from reaching the ground. They also recommend to try and keep the browse level about 6 feet, so clear cutting is really helpful of things like aspen, because then it shoots right back up and they can keep munching away. And also to try and allow for hunting, because we all know a smaller population might be a little bit easier to feed and they won't destroy all of our area. So I just also had to find some evidence of maybe if you have deer in the area browsing, you can see some bushes and shrubs might be losing some of their side branches. So that's some evidence of deer in your area browsing. And also, instead of maybe plant that looks straight across cut, more nibbled and ripped off, instead of just a clean straight cut. As you can see in this one, it's a little ripped and there's a little streak. And so that's how we can tell about deer being in our area and trying to keep them healthy.